comment,
and subscribe for more content.
Where's the notification bell?
It's to the right of you.
Oh.
What's up, guys? Welcome to this edition of a Funko Podcast, the 140th edition of a Funko Podcast. I am DK Wrestler.
And I am MD Shady.
And in today's podcast, we actually don't have that many pops to talk about. It's actually throughout 3 days. But we do have a couple of cool segments, obviously. First segment, actually, it's not a What's the Haps, but we're actually going to be talking about NHL hockey because the playoffs are fastly approaching as they begin. I believe it's May 2nd, they have announced. And this would probably be the only time we'd be able to talk about it within the next couple of weeks before the playoffs begin. But also, we do have, even though it is a little bit of Funko Pop announcements, there are some pretty fire Funko Pop announcements, in my opinion, at least. But then, of course, as shown in the title of this podcast, we will be doing our top 10 list of April 2022 Funko Pop announcements, which this month was a pretty decent month, I would say. I wouldn't say it was too crazy, but I think there are still some pretty sweet bangers that could fit in the top 50 Funko Pops of 2022. So without further ado, we might as well kick off with that NHL hockey segment, which essentially, if you guys aren't a fan of NHL per se, we do have a timestamp in the description below that shows essentially what parts of the podcast that essentially you want to listen to, or if you're listening to a podcast but don't have the time to listen to the whole thing right away, it brings you to a certain time in the podcast where you go back to it and listen to the rest realistically. So, but the NHL segment. So the NHL playoffs are fastly approaching. Obviously, NHL hockey overall being a huge sport here in our country of Canada, in which the majority of the teams have clinched playoff spots, including all 8 teams of the Eastern Conference have clinched playoff spots, which we have Florida Panthers, Carolina Hurricanes, Toronto Maple Leafs, New York Rangers, Tampa Bay Lightning, Boston Bruins, Pittsburgh Penguins, which is my favorite team, and then MD Shady's favorite team, the Washington Capitals. The Western Conference, we only have 5 teams so far that have clinched playoff spots as of this recording, which is April 26th, which is Colorado Avalanche, Minnesota Wild, St. Louis Blues, Calgary Flames, and the Edmonton Oilers, with the other 3 teams that have not clinched playoff spots, but if the playoffs were to start today, they would be filling those spots, are the Los Angeles Kings, Nashville Predators, and the Dallas Stars, all shown according to NHL.com. For this segment, originally, I would have thought about doing like fantasy booking of starting off from round 1 and work our way down to who would be the final 2 teams in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But that hasn't really been determined yet because the whole bracket system is a little weird, because I know, if I'm not mistaken, maybe it is this way, but I don't think it is from what I've kind of researched. It's no longer first place against 8th place, 2nd to 7th, and then working the way down until 4th to 5th. There's a new system, I believe. It starts out, I think the first place conference team will face the first wild card team, and then the clinched division team faces the second wild card, and then I think the 2nd and 3rd place teams of those divisions then fill those brackets, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. What are the likeliness of first place team of the Eastern, Florida, winning, the 8th place team, Washington, winning, first place of Western of Colorado winning, and then the last place being Dallas as of this recording? What are the likeliness of these NHL teams winning the Stanley Cup?
Of those 4 teams.
Of those 4 teams, I'm just going to say. You can talk about the other teams if you want. I'm just going to say those 4 teams specifically for right now.
So I guess I will start off with the Dallas Stars. They did have a pretty good run in the playoffs a couple of years back, actually making it to the final, but they're not quite the team they were, especially considering they are kind of fighting for a playoff spot right now. I do think they have the potential to go a few rounds in. Don't think they're coming out as the Stanley Cup champions this year. Colorado, they are a pretty great team right now. They're doing really good. They have a lot of talent on their team, and I think that they honestly have one of the highest chances in all of the teams in the NHL right now to win the Stanley Cup this year. But that has kind of been said for the past couple of years, and they've kind of slacked a little bit in the playoffs. So who knows with that? the Washington Capitals, my favorite hockey team. I guess the first thing I want to talk about is the game the other day with the Washington Capitals and the Toronto Maple Leafs, where Toronto's call-up goalie tripped Alexander Ovechkin on a breakaway, sending him into the boards, potentially breaking his collarbone. So he's on day-to-day right now. So I don't know if he will actually be in the beginning of the playoffs or not, or if he even comes back into the playoffs. I just hope he's healthy for next year, because we need to see some more goals, because I really want to see Ovechkin break Wayne Gretzky's goal record. But that means that Washington is kind of a weaker team without their star player, Alexander Ovechkin. And with Vitek Vanacek and Ilya Samsonov in net, they are just two goalies that aren't really Stanley Cup champion goaltenders at the moment, in my opinion. So I don't think Washington has a really good chance of even making it past the first round, unfortunately, especially if it is against a team like the Florida Panthers. So I will go on and talk about the Florida Panthers now, which I think might actually win the Stanley Cup this year. I think it's a team that deserves it. They got a hell of a lot of talent. And I really think that Joe Thornton deserves a Stanley Cup. He's been in the NHL for so long. He's been a star player that people really enjoy and look up to. And I think that this might be one of his final years in the NHL. He is definitely getting older. I think if he could get a Stanley Cup this year with the Florida Panthers, that'd be awesome. I think they might be one of the top contenders for the Stanley Cup this year.
Okay, so now that leads to, so we can't do, I guess, starting first round, but if you can predict, which I'll do, I guess, a little bit of predictions also on this, the conference finals for Eastern and Western, and then predict the final two, at least for what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it old fashioned, as if it was first place versus eighth place. So I think the final two teams, in my opinion, if I'm going to try to be a little bit unbiased, I'm actually not going to pick Pittsburgh. I don't think they're going to do conference finals for some reason. I'm going to say for some reason Eastern, Carolina, and Tampa Bay. Who wins here? I don't know. I kind of want to see Carolina win for some reason. Western, maybe Colorado, and I will say Edmonton, and I will say Colorado wins. And then that leads to the finals. Is it Colorado or is it Carolina? I'm going to say Colorado.
I think that the final two teams in the Eastern, Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers, I'm not exactly sure how the bracket works out, but if it does work out that way, that could be a thing, then I definitely think those will be the two teams. Don't really want to see Tampa Bay win a third Stanley Cup in a row, and I do kind of want the Florida Panthers to win the Stanley Cup. And then in the Western, the two teams would be Colorado Avalanche, and I'm actually going to go with the Calgary Flames. I think they're very slept on this year. They are playing some extremely good hockey right now. They're just kind of sliding by, and I do really think they are slept on. I think I might say Calgary to make it to the final. It's a bold choice, but I would love to see Calgary and Florida make it to the Stanley Cup finals this year. That would be just insane.
So then that would mean, obviously, because you mentioned you would think that Florida, so it'd be Florida, Calgary in the final, and then Florida would win the cup, right? Because you would mention Florida should win the cup.
Yeah, I kind of do think that Florida will win the cup this year.
All right, so moving on to the Funko Pop announcements for this past week, which range from April 20th to April 22nd, so 3 days, but there's still some solid announcements. First announcement here, starting on April 20th, Funko had announced a pop for the Simpsons lineup of Homer in Hedges, which is going to be exclusive to Entertainment Earth, and it's expected to release as early as July of 2022. On that same day, Pop Culture had announced an exclusive Pop Town of John Hammond with the Park Gate from Jurassic Park, which has been shown by certain Instagram users that this will be a Target exclusive in the US. So it would be a Toys R Us exclusive here in Canada. And that is available now on Pop Culture's website with restricted shipping to the US. Then on April 21st, Funko had confirmed the pops for the upcoming Disney Pixar movie Lightyear, which we got ourselves 5 common pops of Buzz Lightyear XL01 socks, a Junior Zap Patrol Izzy Hawthorne, a XL15 Buzz Lightyear with socks, and then Zurg, along with exclusive pops of a glow-in-the-dark Buzz Lightyear XL01 that will be exclusive to Amazon, and a Flock socks that will be exclusive to the Funko shop. And these are expected to release as early as July 2022. On that same day, Pop Culture announced an exclusive pop of the Mirror or Rise pop movie moments from Harry Potter, which features pops of Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore, in which unknown yet of where this will be exclusive to in the US and Canada, but this is available now on the Pop Culture website with restricted shipping to both Canada and the US. And then on April 22nd, Funko had confirmed the final pop involved in the Buyer's House Pop Deluxe set, which, of course, like it was predicted, it is of Hopper, which will be an Amazon exclusive and should be released, I guess, within the next couple of months. And then the last pop to discuss about, we have ourselves a new pop for Moon Knight, which is, of course, Moon Knight with weapons, which will be a Funko Shop exclusive and unknown of when this will be released because it is a Funko Shop exclusive. So stay tuned to Funko social media platforms as terms to when they will announce when this will be released. So kicking off this podcast with Funko Pop announcements is a pretty fire pop as terms to overall in the Funko community. I don't think there's really any bad hype as terms of this pop, that being Homer in Hedges, which is a really cool looking pop. It took me a bit for some reason to realize, oh, this is the meme, because as people would know, this scene in The Simpsons has essentially become this huge meme. And I think they did a pretty decent job as terms of this pop. I felt like maybe they could have pushed Homer more into the hedges, but I think the way it is, I guess it's fine considering that when Entertainment Earth had showed in a video on their social media platforms of how this pop looks like out of box, you do see on the back there, it is a green back. It doesn't show, let's say, the other part of Homer's back sticking out of the hedge. But the fact that they made this pop is really cool. And it seems very coincidental that it's looking like Entertainment Earth is becoming the home of, I guess I would call it the meme pops, because first we had the This Is Fine Dog. That was an Entertainment Earth exclusive pop. Then we had the scene in Spider-Man where it's the Spider-Man pointing at each other. That became a meme, and that was an Entertainment Earth exclusive. And now we have ourselves the Homer and Hedges, which is also an Entertainment Earth exclusive. Then we got ourselves the Jurassic Park Pop Town, including John Hammond, and it's the gate. This is okay. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's great either, just for the fact that at the same time, it's not really, I guess, in my opinion, classified as a town because it's just the one piece. But I understand why they went with the gate, because if they had done the entire Jurassic Park, the whole building, I guess, and made it into this smaller scale compared to the pop figure, it looked kind of weird. It already looks awkward when you have certain buildings looking very small compared to the pop figure. And I'm not exactly sure if this is a remold of John Hammond, because I haven't really looked back at the Jurassic Park pops all that much besides the Jurassic Park pops we talked about last week, but it kind of does look similar from what I remember to the original John Hammond pop. So I don't exactly know if it's the same pop as that common one, but then slapped into a pop town. It's an exclusive. Then we got ourselves pops for the upcoming movie of Lightyear, which I am so excited about this movie. I know there is some bad hype as terms to people not liking the fact that Chris Evans is voicing Buzz Lightyear instead of Tim Allen, but it makes sense because it's not about the toy Buzz Lightyear. It is about the character of Buzz Lightyear that the toy is based off of, which makes sense that it would be a different voice actor because let's say you're watching an MCU movie and you see Robert Downey Jr. play Iron Man. Guaranteed when it comes to voice activations on action figures or in video games, it's not going to be Robert Downey Jr. that does those voiceovers because of how busy it is. So I feel like it's kind of that aspect of why they would have chosen a different actor to voice Buzz Lightyear in this movie. But talking about the Funko Pops, which I am excited about these Funko Pops, we did a video on the channel last week talking about the announcement of these Funko Pops, which these are some pretty cool pops. I won't go into so much description because we did have that video. This is a pretty cool set, and I'm hoping there is a wave 2. I will be getting all 7 of these Funko Pops, even though one is a glow-in-the-dark exclusive to Amazon. I'm still going to get it anyways. I will mention that I do like the Buzz Lightyear with socks better than the other one, just because You get a little bit of a Pop and Buddy. I like the orange outfit better, and you get to see more of the top head of Buzz Lightyear as terms of that pop. I'm going to call it now. I think Socks is going to steal the entire movie. It's really cool to finally see the first Zurg Funko Pop in probably 10 years, I want to say. And I think they did a pretty great job. And Zurg looks cool with this like new kind of modern look. And then the exclusive pops, like I mentioned with the glow in the dark pop, it's okay. I kind of wish it was green because green would look so much better and it makes sense for Buzz Lightyear's color, but maybe it's a little bit more movie accurate that it's blue. But regardless, I will be getting that pop, and I am excited about the flocked socks because obviously flock pops are cool. And at first, I didn't know if it made sense for the pop to be flocked because of the fact that Socks is a mechanical cat. But if you do look closely in the trailer, you do see kind of that like furry texture on top. Then we got the Harry Potter pop movie moments, which this is a really cool movie moments. And it's for two reasons. One, it's a crucial part in the Philosopher's Stone, and also the fact that I just recently rewatched the movie a couple weeks ago in preparation for our fandom related podcast at the end of June for Harry Potter, and I'm trying to figure out pops to add as terms to the Philosopher's Stone, or I should say for any US listeners, the Sorcerer's Stone. I think this pop will definitely be discussed as terms to that Harry Potter podcast in June. Then we got the Hopper Funko Pop for the Build-A-Scene Buyer's House Pop Deluxe. And finally, we got all four of these pops. We kind of figured that all four of these characters would be exactly what we predicted: 11, Demogorgon, Will, and Hopper. But there was a lot of bad hype because of the fact that it's Hopper and not Joyce, which I mean, I think Funko was thinking that Hopper would sell more than Joyce, but at the same time, we don't have that many Joyce pops. So it would have been cool that if you never got a Joyce pop, that would have been the way to get it, is for this deluxe. And then last but not least, we have the Moon Knight pop, which we have ourselves a new version of Moon Knight himself, except he has weapons in his hands. And this is pretty decent. I like this version of Moon Knight a little bit better than the first Moon Knight pop that essentially we kicked off the month of April with, where it is Moon Knight in kind of that mid-air pose where he's kicking. I think it's really cool. I felt like there could have been some other characters that were either in the recent episode of Moon Knight instead of having this Moon Knight, but at the same time, I'm not surprised that there's another Moon Knight because, of course, they're going to be pumping out as many different Moon Knights as possible before they do like newer characters that haven't been made into pop form yet. And I'm sure that this is going to be a decent seller. Will it be a sellout? Not exactly sure yet, but I would say if it does sell out, it will take a lot quicker for this pop to sell out than a lot of the Funko Shop exclusives as of late.
All right, starting off with a Simpsons pop, which is always awesome. We have the Entertainment Earth exclusive Homer in Hedges, and this is really awesome. I really enjoy this. I was surprised to see this actually because I didn't think that Funko would actually do this pop, but I love seeing Simpsons pops, and this is pretty cool, especially if you don't have that OG Homer, which unfortunately I don't have. But I do think that this is a great mold of Homer, and this is an awesome scene. And yeah, it is kind of a meme scene, which is kind of cool. I was reading through the comments on Funko's Instagram when they posted this, and someone mentioned how it seems like Funko is kind of trying to catch up with U2s in the fact that this is almost like a meme. And I could kind of see that, but at the same time, I don't think they really have to do anything like that. U2s is kind of different, though they are kind of similar to Funko Pops. But this is really cool. I really enjoy it. And I hope that Funko makes a bunch more Simpsons pops this year. And I kind of hope to see some more meme pops rather than it just being The Simpsons, though there are other Simpsons memes for sure. I do like the fact that Funko is kind of getting into the meme business, which is really cool. This pop's awesome. Can't wait to add it to my collection. Then we have the Jurassic Park John Hammond with the gate. And this is interesting. I think that this shouldn't have been a pop town. I think that the base could have been extended out a little bit and John Hammond could have been actually placed on it, and it could have been a deluxe pop or it could have been a movie moment pop. I just don't really like this as a pop town. It's kind of all right, but I feel like the gate is just too small. The box is weird as well. If you look at the box in the glam shot, it doesn't scream pop town to me. and it's small, so I do think it would have been an awesome deluxe, or even if it's a little too big to be a deluxe pop, it could have just been a movie moments, and that would have been awesome because I do like this. I do enjoy this. I think it looks good. There's a lot of different details with the leaves and like just the different details on the gate doors and stuff like that. I think it is a decent pop. I just don't like the fact that it's a pop town. Then we have the first wave of pops for the Lightyear movie. And yeah, I'm really excited for this movie too. I understand the bad hype around it, but I think that people should just get over it. This movie is going to be awesome. And these pops are pretty awesome too. I really enjoy a lot of these pops. I can't wait to see more pops for this movie come out, to see a nice big lineup, because I do think we will be getting more pops. There obviously will be more characters than just the four, I guess you could say, that we see here. Starting off with the first Buzz, I think that pops all right. I do like this kind of new look for Buzz, obviously, because it's not the toy of Buzz Lightyear, but I think it's cool. It does give a space vibe, which is nice. And I like the attire. I think there's a good amount of detail on this pop, but the other Buzz I do like more. I find that the helmet kind of gives more of a vibe to the toy than the first pop, because it has like the full dome and you can see kind of the purple on the, I guess, hood, I guess you could call it, that Buzz wears. And then it's awesome that it's a pop and buddy where you get socks and he's actually holding on to him rather than being just a smaller figure on the side, which I do like that detail. And this attire is pretty cool too. It does remind me of X-Wing pilot gear. This is a cool pop. I really enjoy it. Then you have the common socks, and that's a decent pop as well. I think it's almost just the same as the pop and buddy, quote unquote. I do think it'll probably sell well, especially like DK said, how socks may steal this movie. The Zerg, I think, is really awesome as well, how it's got a lot of elements to the Zerg that we know from Toy Story, but at the same time, it has its new kind of spin where it looks more like a mech suit, which is cool. I do like the fact that his one arm still has that like tri cannon kind of weapon, which is neat. I like that a lot. And he's doing kind of the classic Zerg pose where he's got his hand out like that. This is awesome. I'm surprised that at least yet we haven't seen a glow in the dark version of this pop. The Amazon exclusive Buzz is okay. Blue obviously is not the best choice for glow in the dark, but I do think that this pop will end up turning out all right. And I mean, glow in the dark pops are still cool. And then we have the flocked socks, which I do think will probably be one of the most sold pops out of this set, at least for this first wave. Funko Shop exclusive. It's flocked. It's a cool character that, like I said, will probably end up stealing the show. So this is awesome. I really enjoy that pop as well. Then we have the Harry Potter and Albus Dumbledore with the mirror pop moment. And this is okay. I find that it's a little plain. Like there's not a ton going on with like action, I guess. But I guess there really isn't with this scene. And it makes sense. The photo that they use is kind of interesting on the mirror itself to kind of show the reflection. I like it that it's obviously popified. I feel like they could have maybe done a better job. I don't know if in person this will look a little bit different, but I feel like it's just a little bit cheesy as terms to the actual photo that's displayed in the mirror. But the two pops themselves, I guess, are all right. But like I said, there's just they're kind of seem plain. They just kind of have their arms to the side. But I do think a lot of Harry Potter fans are going to want to get this. Then we have the last of 4 of the Amazon exclusive Build a Scene Buyer's House. And now we get to see all 4, which is awesome. This set is sweet. I can't wait to buy these. Yeah, I could see why they would go with Hopper. Hopper would sell more than Joyce, and I'm sure that there's been a lot more sales for Hopper Pops than Joyce Pops. I'm not too upset about it not being Joyce. I do think that Joyce is kind of the better pick for like towards the scene, but Hopper makes sense as well, I suppose. And I think that all 4 of these look really nice. I can't wait to display them, most likely out of box. This is a pretty cool set. And then lastly, we have the new Funko Shop exclusive Moon Knight pop. And I like this Moon Knight pop. I like it better than the first one we seen. The glow in the dark on the first one is pretty cool. I like that we got a glow in the dark version, but I wasn't super excited with the pose. Whereas I really like this. The cape looks good. I like how There's a lot of those gray and white tones going on, but the gold stands out really well with the weapons and some of the other details on his attire. This is an awesome Moon Knight pop.
Are you looking for great pop protectors? Then look no further than popbox.ca. They have a variety of 4-inch and 6-inch protectors in different quantities. Do you want to get 10 protectors, 20? You can get even up to 250 pop protectors over on popbox.ca. And also use our promo code of Funko Popcast for 10% off of your entire purchase of pop protectors. The code is going on until supplies last. So go get your pop protector needs now over on popbox.ca using our code of Funko Popcast to get 10% off.
And let me tell you guys, we're not just screwing around here. These are some great pop protectors. We own a multitude of these protectors. They are some of the best I've seen. Stop buying from EB Games. I'm not boycotting EB Games by any means, but their pop protectors are not as good. So again, use code of Funko Popcast for 10% off.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the top 10 Funko Pops of April 2022, which, of course, as you may notice, we are not completely over and done with April yet, considering that one of the pops we didn't talk about, which will be on the podcast, I should say, in a few weeks, which I'll mention why in a sec, the Groot comic covers that will kick off that podcast in a couple of weeks with our segment, The Update. And I say a couple of weeks because of the fact that next week on the podcast will actually be the release of our first fandom-related podcast of 2022 on Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, with essentially that entire week pretty much being all Star Wars related content. So all Star Wars fans, you guys are probably excited for the fact that we will be doing pretty much 5 days of content as terms of just Star Wars. So that's going to be a pretty crazy week itself. Without further ado, like usual, we will kick off with MD Shady and his number 10 pick.
All right. So my number 10 is actually a pop that I didn't get to discuss about on the podcast because it was when our good buddy Robbie filled in for me. Thanks again to Robbie for filling in for me. And that pop is Toto from The Wizard of Oz. I think that it's really cool that we're seeing a Wizard of Oz pop for the first time in, oh God, it's got to be 7 years, maybe even more than that. I don't remember exactly what year the Wizards of Oz pops came out, but I think it was like 2014 or 15, maybe even before that though. So it's really cool to see a new pop, and Toto's awesome. I love the fact that it's in a basket. The reason why it only came in at number 10 though is because we don't have a glam shot. We just have that kind of illustration drawing so far. So maybe if there was a glam shot and I seen exactly what this pop looked like, it might have made it higher.
Coming in at number 10 on my list is the Funko Shop exclusive Moon Knight pop that we just finished talking about. Really cool looking Funko Pop, better in my opinion than the Moon Knight pop that kicked off April 2022. The only reason why it's at number 10 realistically is that I do have a feeling that there may be some cool pops that will be announced this week that indeed will knock off this pop. So I don't see this pop really staying on the list by the time we make it to the update. But it's a really cool pop though.
Coming in at number 9, I have the Foodies popcorn bucket. This is actually a Foodies that I have enjoyed, which is kind of a shocker because normally I do not like Foodies, but it did remind me of my times at the drive-in. So it kind of has a nostalgia factor, and I don't think it's a bad looking pop. And I think it kind of makes sense, almost in the sense of the Oodles pops and the other kind of variations of that pop that came out.
Coming in at number 9 on my list is the Funko Shop exclusive Flocked Socks from Lightyear. I wish I didn't have to put this pop super low on this list, but there's a couple reasons why it's low. First off, it is a very simplistic design. It's not too detailed compared to a lot of the pops actually announced this month, but also because of the hype and how some people weren't really talking about socks per se. A lot of people were talking about Zerg, and there were people commenting, why is Tim Allen not playing Buzz Lightyear? So that kind of hype really died down this pop per se.
Moving on to number 8, I have the Venom comic book cover. I also didn't get to talk about this pop, but I do think that this is a really awesome looking pop. It's pretty phenomenal, actually. I like the cover, and the pop itself looks really cool. Generally, all Venom pops look great, so with the cover behind it, I think it just gives it a little bit more of an oomph.
Coming in at number 8 on my list, it is the Amazon exclusive Qui-Gon Jinn Duel of Fates Pop Deluxe. A lot of people were super hyped because of the fact that we finally see what all 3 pieces of this Duel of Fates Pop Deluxe set looks like, and it looks pretty good in the glam shot. Hopefully it looks pretty good in person also, assuming that there obviously will be people out there that make videos of setting up this deluxe set.
Moving on to number 7, I have the Make-A-Wish Spider-Man. I really enjoy this set of pops. I think that they look great. I love the metallic blue and how it's not just one color of blue. There's kind of a little bit of lighter shades and there are darker shades. There's a little bit of black in some of these pops. And with the Winnie the Pooh, there's actually some yellow in there as well. So I knew I had to pick one pop to go in here. And I figured it had to be the pop that I already own, which is Spider-Man. I think it is my favorite pop. Is it the best pop? I don't know about that. I think that the Minnie Mouse is actually a really great looking pop from the set, but I do think that my favorite is the Spider-Man. So that's why it made the top 10 list.
Coming in at number 7 on my list, it is the Doctor Strange pop comic covers. I think this comic covers is pretty sweet, especially the cover itself. The pop, I mean, it's just copying what Doctor Strange is obviously doing, which I think he's just like in a flying stance, I'm pretty sure. I'm not looking at the photo right now. I'm just kind of going off memory, which I think is really cool. I think it's going to be a decent seller, especially with the upcoming release of the Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness movie.
Now on to number 6 on my list. I have the Macho King. This is an awesome looking pop. It's great to see another Macho Man pop, and it's actually Macho King. I think that the attire looks great. And I mean, you can't really go wrong with a Macho King pop. And I'm surprised we haven't seen one until 2022, considering there are a decent amount of Macho Man pops nowadays.
Coming in at number 6 on my list is also the Entertainment Earth exclusive Macho King Randy Savage, or actually on the box, it does say Macho Man Randy Savage, which maybe that's a little bit of a downer of why it made it number 6 and not higher, because they got the freaking name wrong. It's Macho King, not Macho Man at that point. I think why it even made the list, especially in the middle of the list, is first of all, Macho King, such a cool version of Macho Man. You also have the additions of the 2 stickers featured, which obviously are Entertainment Earth exclusive sticker and that WrestleMania 6 sticker that'll be featured on the box there. It's not in the top 5 though, because I think there is much more detail as terms to these next 5 pops and a decent amount of hype.
Moving on to number 5. I don't remember the exact name of it, but the Thor pop rides that came out for the Thor Love and Thunder, I believe it's called. I think that that pop is just ridiculous. There's so much detail to it. There's kind of 3 characters, I guess you could say, with Thor, and then you have the 2 animals that are kind of riding the ship, or like the motor of the ship, I guess you could say. There's so much detail. It is a beautiful, beautiful pop. Maybe one of the most insane looking pops I've seen in a long time, if not ever.
Coming in at number 5 on my list, it is the previews exclusive glow in the dark Venom pop comic covers. This is a really awesome pop comic covers. Like I mentioned in the podcast that MD wasn't on, but Robbie D filled in, this may be probably the best comic covers that Funko has done as terms to the Marvel section. I don't know about overall, because that means that it would have to compete with, I believe, what I believe was originally the best comic covers they have done, which came from the DC side, being Poison Ivy, and both those are pretty great comic covers of what they pulled off, especially with this one where it is glow in the dark and the white parts and the green slime coming out of the mouth there, glow in the dark, and then they added the little puddle of slime at the bottom of the base there for the pop. And I think this will definitely be a great seller.
Now on to number 4 on my list. I have the Buzz with Socks. I think that this is a great looking pop. It is my favorite of the 3 Buzz pops that we've seen so far. And I think it's cool that you get a pop and buddy, especially when it is a buddy like Socks. I think that that's an awesome touch, because I don't think they necessarily had to add it. But because Socks is in there, I do think a lot more people will be inclined to buy it.
Coming in at number 4 on my list, it's a pop that MD actually mentioned, and I will actually say the name this time, is Thor's Chariot pop rides. Such an insane pop ride, something that we normally don't see compared to a lot of pop rides. And just the way they executed it with the detail is just absolutely amazing.
Now, moving on to the top 3 pops of April 2022. Coming in at number 3, I have the box lunch exclusive glow in the dark Khonshu, I believe is the way to pronounce his name. This pop is awesome. I love the detail that is on this pop. Not to mention that it is glow in the dark, which is cool. I don't know how well it's going to glow because we've been seeing a whole lot of blue glow in the dark pops, and blue's not the greatest, but I do think that this pop is pretty spectacular. I really enjoy the character from Moon Knight. Think that there is a little bit of bad hype with it because it could have been a bit of a taller pop to be a 6-inch pop because this is such a large character, but I'm not a fan of 6-inch boxes, so I'm glad that it is a technically standard size pop.
Coming in at number 3 on my list is Zurg from the Lightyear movie. Personally, I'd rather have this number 1, but there are some aspects to why I put it at number 3. First off is, of course, kind of that bad hype involving, oh, Chris Evans shouldn't play, things that I mentioned earlier in the podcast that kind of died down the ranking of this pop. The detail's excellent, though. This modern version, I guess you can call it, of Zurg looks excellent. My personal reaction is up on this. It's just for that bad hype that just cost this pop from essentially making it right on the top of that list.
Now, moving on to number 2, I have Zurg from Lightyear. I think that this pop looks awesome. I was kind of surprised that Zurg is in this movie for some reason, which I shouldn't have been because why wouldn't he be? So it was great to see that he is in the movie. And then we're getting a new Zurg pop, which is just so cool. I'm so happy about that. I think that there are some cool details where, like I said, he has like the tri kind of blaster arm, and then his head shape is very Zurg-like, which is great. They didn't change a whole lot, but they also gave him a little bit more of a modern look where he is a little bit more mechanical, which I think is awesome. And the pose of this pop is also really cool. And I don't know, I'm just super excited to see a new Zurg pop.
Coming in at number 2 on my list is the box lunch exclusive glow in the dark Khonshu from Moon Knight. This pop is excellent. This is definitely, or at least just Khonshu in pop form itself, is my favorite pop in the entire Moon Knight set. And I chose the glow in the dark version over the common because there was more hype towards the glow in the dark one. Personally, I'd be fine with the common version, but I think it's that fact of the hype that a lot of people really wanted that glow in the dark version. People commenting, where's the pre-order link for this pop? At the same time, I think the reason this pop did not make number 1 on my list is the point that MD mentioned earlier and how this should have been a much taller pop. It should have been a 6-inch, but they did pull it off decently being a 4-inch pop by making it slightly a bit taller. But I felt like, in my opinion, it should have been a 6-inch.
Now, finally, moving on to number 1, my favorite pop for April 2022 so far. And I don't know if it's going to change, and it is Homer in Hedges, the Entertainment Earth exclusive. I think that this pop is great. I mean, it's a meme that is kind of going around recently that a lot of people know about, even if you haven't watched this episode of The Simpsons. I think the molding for Homer looks great. I mean, we have seen some Homers that are kind of similar to this recently, but I think this one's good. I love adding Simpsons pops to my collection, so if they keep putting out pops like this, I will keep buying them. And I hope to see more meme pops, and with this pop, I definitely do think we will be seeing some more memes that have been talked about in recent history, I guess you could say. So yeah, this pop's awesome.
Coming in at number 1 on my list is the Target exclusive Dr. Sattler with Triceratops pop movie moments from Jurassic Parks. I think this is a really excellent looking pop because I remember the scene from Jurassic Park. Just overall, there's not really any bad hype, especially with postings from Funko lately. If there was bad hype, it would be, where are No Way Home pops? Where are No Way Home pops? There was absolutely none of that as terms of this post, surprisingly, from what I last seen. And yeah, overall, the detail's great. I think this is one of the better Jurassic Park pops. Anyways, guys, that is going to be the end of this week's podcast. If you enjoyed this week's edition of a Funko Podcast, make sure you smash that like button. Comment in the comment section below and let us know what your favorite pop was for the month of April 2022. Press the subscribe button for more content like this video in the future, and press the little bell beside it to be notified of when that future content gets released. And if you guys haven't yet, follow us on all of our social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at a Funko Podcast. It'll be listed in the description below. But anyways, guys, thank you for listening to this week's edition of a Funko Podcast, and we hope to see you guys next week on what will be our fandom-related podcast, specifically titled May the Force Be With You, the Star Wars Podcast. 1, 2, 3, I'm out of here.
To infinity and beyond. Peace in, peace out.